So we're going to have wind kind of turning from lame duck to sitting off. Normally, before the pandemic, we would have, this would be a banquet in which we would bring our significant others as well. And it was very pleasant about the banquet. We've never gotten that going again since after the pandemic. But anyway, we'd have a banquet. And then we would install officers, we'd have a speaker of some sort, so. All of that's, maybe we'll get back to it one day, that one all went away, so. So what we're doing is we're, installing our officers, I'm one of the members of the nominating committee, as is Wynn, and as is Mac McNear, who is not here. Is Mac, are you there on Zoom? Don't see you. Okay, anyway. So that's what we're about, and we will then install them as officers, and they can take over. So, Rick, do you want to give us a little run of what things were like this year?
I can't remember.
That line's been used an awful lot this last week.
Well, let's see what happened. I think we went from more virtual to more in-person participation. Most of you who have been here for a while can remember this room was full and people sitting on the side. And it's still my goal to get people back. I think that for people who can't travel for whatever reason, like the virtual meeting is an option for them. But I think I enjoyed the participation back in the day. I wanted to try to get more things happening at the meetings in terms of hands-on stuff with wires and equipment and so on, and still hoping to do that. But I think we've done some good things with our antennas and remote stations and so on. So I think I just want to stimulate more activity if we can. And we don't have that many official activities like photos and so on, but there's that option to do that sort of stuff. That's what I hope to do.
That's good. Good. So we will go to the next point, which is if you look at the piece of paper, and for those of you who don't have it at home, I will read them off. The officers, it was a very difficult job for the nominating committee to come up with all these people. That's basically last year's group all over again. So for President Rick Waller, Vice President Darrell Bessinger, Secretary David Robinson, Treasurer Ken Leidner, Director Lauren Ware, Director Armin Hamill, Director Steve Bowles, and the past president also serves as director, so that's John DeMaio. So, Wynn, I think it's your turn to bring them up and have them get sworn in. Okay. Get them up front again.
See, Lauren is there virtually. We won't have her walk up here, but she's there. Let me just say that this club, if you looked in something I saw this week, they had a list of all the former presidents of the club. We had some people that were presidents and members of the club over the years that were pretty distinguished people in the Richmond electronics and broadcasting communities. I started coming to the Richmond Amateur Radio Club when I was 14 years old, and my parents had to drive me to the fire station on Maple Avenue to get there because I didn't have a driver's license. I had a ham radio license, but I didn't have a driver's license. But I've met some guys there that they were really kind of big deals. There was Rudy Brady. Probably nobody here old enough to remember him. He was the chief engineer at WRVA Radio many years ago. And there was a guy named Myron Causey, who was the general manager of Radio Supply Company on Broad Street across from Channel 6, where we used to go to buy our components, go in there and ask, can I have 2 1 kilowatt, one kilo ohm resistors, please, and that'll be 42 cents or something. And there were just a lot of people that were members of the club and involved in lots of other areas of life in the Richmond area. We had guys that were with AT&T and the phone company and the power company, and people that sold Motorola and General Electric two-way radios. A lot of people that had a a job related to electronics and radio, and they were members of this radio club, and it was great. And now we've got a whole new crop of people that know things like computers and things like that. In those days, what would we do without all these skills of our office? I'm holding up here the wolf hong. There's a story about this, but I don't know which version of it is true. There's so many stories of how this came about. I'm not going to share any of them for you, but it's got a date on here that was presented to the club in 1950, apparently, but it came from Mr. Eubank, who I think is a former president of this club. I remember seeing that list. This one came. This was delivered to the club at the ARRL National Convention in Chicago in 1938, when this came to RARC, apparently. Take a picture of that little label on the bottom. One day it's going to fall off and nobody's going to. Anyway, this is the wolf hong. There's a story about it, but I'm going to install our officers now, and have everybody here or online, and I'm going to. Oh, where's Daryl's not here? All right, well,
He's tied up in a wreck on 995.
oh, he's done. Okay, well, as long as he's not in the wreck. Okay, we'll swear him in virtually then. So if all of our officers and directors would just raise your right hands and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear. I solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute. I will faithfully execute the duties of my office. And will represent the members of the Richmond Amateur Radio Club.
The members of the Richmond Amateur Radio Club.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
All right. Well, congratulations to our officers and directors, and look forward to the
Did you give your gas on the fire? With a large number of the past presidents. And I'm like, when I remember the fire hose over there on Maple, I used to go with several others for Asbury the year. We were in the 8th grade, you not back in 62, 3, something like that over there. And all of these great people still alive, including Colonel Ted.
The real W4FJ.
Yeah, the real W4FJ.
All right. Thank you. You want to tell the story of the lefties? You tell the story of the thing.
Well, one thing now, I understand that's also an image of authority. Look at the red stain on it. The purpose of this is to discipline the president and his officers. Anybody that, shall we say, does not live up to their responsibility. There it is, folks.
We don't have one of those. Early days of the Christie maximum. And then these devices that torture people cause like people right now.
Anyway, we'll leave this up here.
Yes.
All right.
Sure. Why don't we go ahead and open our business meeting. And the minutes from the last, I wasn't at the last meeting, but the minutes of the last meeting are summarized in there. Everyone's had an opportunity to review those minutes. Does anyone have questions about anything that was included in the minutes? When I request a motion to approve our minutes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved. Now, why don't we go on to Ken for the president's report?
Okay. Treasurer's report for October. We started the month with $21,168.01. We took in $902 in dues. For the seminar classes, we took in $60. And we had a donation of $110. Somebody graciously gave us that amount. So
And if you haven't looked on the website, it is possible if you want, there's a page to make a donation. We're very thankful for that. We paid the expenses out, $600 to the church, approved by the board. We had, let's see, a $10 refund for a seminar that wasn't held. We paid for our domain name and name sheet, $13.20. We paid our state corporation fee, annual fee of $25. And I bought a package, the pro version of the package we had called Duplicator. What Duplicator does is it takes backups of our production site. We can install that over the top of our backup site so that we can do testing and things over there without impacting the production site. The production version of that works, shall I put it, extremely much easier for the webmaster to make that happen. The other part is it can automatically do a backup, where before it was like, I gotta do a backup, then however long. It's automated now, takes it every Monday. Stores it out on some cloud space for me. And we have that available to restore the production, or as I say, move it over to the test site. So that leaves us with a balance of $21,496.47. So we made a little bit over $300. I've got 3 new members. So Richard Wingo, who does not have a call sign. We have a Marcus Wigglesworth, who also does not have a call sign. And I have Sabrina Orange, who is a general. And her call sign is KQ4KZT. Do I have a motion to?
So moved.
Second. Second. Good. All those in favor?
Aye.
We have 3 new members. Yay! All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I see a couple of not senior citizens in the room.
Gotta fix the camera.
Mr.
We gotta fix the camera next time. So it's a little. So you don't have to hold. Yeah. Are you done?
Okay, I was here last month, so I was.
Not really.
Welcome. And there's
Just
just.
Christian
This is John.
So you,
Gracious.
are you going to apply again?
Yes.
He may have a different.
Well, there's lots of things to do in
Think
amateur radio.
Well,
There's lots of people in this room that
but I
know
don't
about
know
it.
the
I can say myself, but a lot of the
obviously you don't
know a lot of things that
After
are
15
anything you're
years.
interested in, or you need help with. There's somebody around here that can help you with that, so welcome aboard. Go ahead.
I'll just give a little introduce for you, Fred Jones.
Hopefully we can help the company. Thanks for coming up, so we're gonna get there's all kinds of different, there's innumerable different wrinkles to amateur radio. I mean, so much different things you can do, so many different things, so there may be some things you haven't heard about. If you have questions, feel free to approach myself or any of the other members, and we can get you heading in the right direction. Just a few announcements. I got an email from Howard Waxman, WZ4K, who's the Eastern Skyward Program Coordinator. And I think he has been running things over there, and I'm not sure that covers our or not, but he's going to step down. He was requesting participation and things assisted with program modernization. So if anyone is interested in Skywarn, send his email. Then I got a note from Phil Marito, WB2PHY, who is a member of RARC, and he is a participant in the daily 6-meter net on 50.215 at 8 AM locally. He wanted us to publicize his net in our newsletter. Looks like there's no reason why not. So we could go ahead and include that in there. Let's see. Does anyone else have any business or any other announcements they would like to make? Go ahead, Tom.
I'd like to, I don't know whether you did this while I was out or not, but, we owe a debt of gratitude to a lot of folks that came up here, helped us get the antennas up on the roof for the club station that taken down. That was hard work. I couldn't help, I couldn't get on the roof, but, Mike and, Darryl and Armin and, Rob, I don't know who else is here, but, oh, Judy and Bill. Bill did a lot of heavy work. So Judy and Bill, and, I worked up a lot of people here, but,
Those are the first time.
and club president. So there was a lot of work done. These folks stepped in. Now we have a working, station, internet accessible, VHF, UHF, HF.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else have any official type? Go ahead. Tim.
Yeah, I have one. We have 3 people who have volunteered to do the Zoom part of the meeting, to monitor it, and make sure it all works. It would be real nice if we had 1 free. So it's not hard. He learned tonight.
I think Armin's too is interested.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a very reasonable thing to do. It takes a few minutes to actually, you need 2 people to get the part down. Unless somebody is real good at woodwork, we could put a ramp that we could put over the steps so that we could just roll it down the steps. But anyway, if you just get a few more ballots, that'd be really great. I'd love to get 12, and then it'd be 1 time a month. That 1 time a year, I guess, that a person would have to come in a little early, get here about 6:30, maybe a little bit before that, to set it all up before the meeting starts. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken. Let's see what else they're going to say. Did you get some?
Radio Builders Group will start up in January.
For those who don't know what that is, could you enlighten us?
Radio Builders Group is a bunch of guys that get together in my garage, basically, and build things, build radios. Nowadays, there's a lot of kits, a lot of parts available. Those that remember the days of Radio Shack, they're gone. Parts were difficult to find. Nowadays, it's easy to get parts off of Amazon, from other Express and places like that. And they're fairly cheap. There's a big movement these days in developing and using software-defined radio. Software-defined radios are much easier to build in many cases than an old analog radio. The parts are from reasonable to very small. There's a lot of surface mount devices. We try not to do too much of those. It's a problem with eyesight. But there are kits that we have built. I think we probably made about maybe at least 10 to 12 kits over the last couple of years. And it's an opportunity for people to get together to discuss ideas and to say, hey, I got this kit I built together and it's not working. What do I do? How do I troubleshoot it? Or geez, I really need an oscilloscope. Has anybody got an oscilloscope or an idea? There's a cheap one on Amazon that you can build, and it's $49. And of course, it's not going to do 1 gigahertz, but it'll show basic wave, of the signal. It's a very informal group. we have no officers, we have no dues, and we have no rules. All right, we all get together and, talk about things and discuss, what we're gonna do for next project, or things like that. We usually meet on Tuesday afternoon, from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. People that are working, don't like that. We haven't really considered doing a Saturday or evening hours or whatever. But for those people that are available, welcome to come. It's in my garage, very informal, things like that. One other thing I'd like to mention about Skywarn. How many people here know about Skywarn? Few of you that don't, Skywarn is let's see if I get this correct myself, is an activity where there are many people out, and a lot of this is in southeastern Virginia, but just because we don't seem to be very susceptible to a lot of tornadoes here. But for those areas in southeastern Virginia where there are more tornadoes, there's a lot of hams that are on the radio, that have, VHF, UHF capabilities. And they're driving around and they see a cloud and they say, hey, this looks serious. What do I do? Who do I report this to? Do I call 911? Well, we found out, that's not a good idea, because every cloud you see is not necessarily a danger. And what it does is it clogs 911 circuitry. Skywarn is I guess, type of organization where the people that see something will contact a Skywarn coordinator. They take the information down, they take the location. They like to also verify with somebody else that sees the same thing, or describe, is this just a cloud? Is this funnel shaped? Do you see stuff coming up off the ground? Is there rain? Is there lightning? They collect all this data. They coordinate that, and then they package that and they send that to the National Weather Service. I think it goes to one in that Waverly down there, or Wakefield. They then use that, and they have a more accurate idea of the situation of what's really happening. So it's, if you are interested in that, it's an opportunity, that especially if you're in an area that does experience some very severe weather, it's a chance, to get involved in that and help things out. Thank you.
Also on the Skyward note there, you could become a trained spotter, and there are courses that are given at fire stations in different places.
I was gonna say, spotters don't even have to have your license. Took my wife, she thoroughly enjoyed the class, and she's a spotter.
But it adds data points to what the weather service can do. So let's see. Anybody else that, go ahead. Right. Where's that going to be? Okay. All right. So you don't have to be a trained spotter to report in there, but if you're going to give a wind or rain estimate, they want it to be quantitative. You want to try to estimate the wind speed and how much rain you get, not to say, oh, the trees are, so they want some kind of semi-quantitative data. Anybody else have any business type announcements? I should say, next month's meeting, what we did last year was people brought in equipment and stuff that they wanted to give away or sell, and put it in the back there. And I have some stuff I can bring, but so people can do that. Now, in the past, we've had snacks. And if someone wants to take the lead in coordinating that, we can have snacks. So that's what we do. Okay. All right, we can do that. But anyway, so if there's some stuff you want to, other people always like other people's junk. So I gave away a lot of stuff last year, but so bring in some stuff, and if some people want it, or if you want to sell something, you can work that out as well. So unless there's more official
Go ahead, Bruce. Well, sit back down.
Dan Bryant, for DOB, I don't know what's a K, N, or W. I think it's N for. I think it's N for. Anyway, he said, he, was given this, Mike gave him this vernacular to use. And he doesn't really have a use for it. So since the club has a stash of test equipment, it's gonna go into the club stash. And he had a plaque put on it, noting that Mike had given it to the club for our use. So this goes along with the VNA and all the other stuff we have for as our loader, our equipment loader. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Bruce. So why don't we then, I request a motion to close the formal meeting. Second,
Thank you.
everyone in favor? Okay, so that's the business meeting. Anybody do anything exciting on the radio? Heard Wynn saying he was, what's up going on over there? He was talking to China and stuff like that. That's on FT8. I don't think in my experience, the few afternoons I've gone into 10 meters, it hasn't been as good I thought as it was last year. But it's open sometimes. I worked a guy in Namibia on sideband the other day. It sounds pretty good. But anybody else do anything interesting on the radio? Any new toys? Nothing. Well, then I want to go ahead, Rob.
We discovered online speed called Evening. And it's kind of closely associated with the Long Island CW Club, which is an online school that has classes every day. And you can go on and sign on and learn more stuff. And you can also, through the V-band, hook up your key as a USB device and go on there and practice. You can also go and chat room. So we have a little net for you. We did it, what was it, Tuesday night? We had like 5 people in there, and you go in and everybody takes turns. So you're learning how to do USO and some editing. And then, bumbling your mistakes, and everybody's laughing and everything. So you're not, but it's all CW. And it's a way to learn to stand. So, there are lots of ways to learn to copy. But learning to stand is the other half, which is we get this book called the CW Life. I really recommend that book. We all got infected again with it. Because I think most of us have always tried to do more code and we'll get started and we'll get halfway through the alphabet and then we just fall off the cliff and then start up again for 5 more years and anyway. So there seems to be kind of a tsunami now of education, and the V-band thing is closely because you can go on and practice, and you can go on and chat with each other in the chat room and send more code. And we notice things. You can see, and I'm sending a W, da-da-da, or I'm sending a A and a da-da stuff. So it's pretty accurate, and you can really send very low, and it tells you how fast you send. Anyway, so we're doing that because we're not good contract,
Thanks, Rob. Also, before I forget, anybody in our virtual audience have any questions or comments? We don't mean to exclude you, ladies and gentlemen.
We're only hearing about half the conversation.
Okay. What part are you not hearing? The people not talking into the microphone?
Correct.
Maybe we could just recap what Rob was saying about the CW group, just like a.
All right, Rob, do you want to come up and talk in the microphone? But anything else, Bill, or anyone else have anything else that they want to add before we put Rob back up here?
No, we're good.
Anybody else? I want to leave you, ladies and gentlemen, out. Rob, can you rehash that into the microphone? I guess the other job we need is someone who's a director to remind us.
I'll peripheralize it.
Oh, I think talking to the right microphone. Look at that.
You can also think about like an ambient light type thing.
We've
tried that. I would like, yeah.
Just to remind us.
I can just, yeah.
So I was just saying that some of us have discovered this thing called V-band, and it's an online CW app that goes through your browser. You go to just vband, is it .net or .com?
Yeah, anyway, just Google V-band. And you can hook up your key through a USB port. You can either use an Arduino Leonardo, or the guys that did V-band also make their own little dongle. It's $25 and I think it's $20 to get it here, right? Something like that. Yeah, so we just made our own. I found, if you know, contact one of us and we'll tell you more. But anyway, it's nice because you can go into a chat room and send CW to each other and it decodes it. Or you can just go there on any time you want and just practice with, you know, and it'll show you what you're sending. And you can use a straight key, iambic key, a bug, and the paddle, I think. Anyway, it's quite well made. They've been doing it for a couple of years, and the Long Island CW Club is using this for their practice sending sessions during their classes. So if anyone's interested, contact myself or Armin or Steve Foles, or I think that would be.
Thank you, Rob. Tomorrow's Veterans Day, and I wanted to recognize, I know we have some veterans in here, mostly Navy men, I think, but if all you veterans can stand up and be recognized. Let's see. Navy, Army, Marines, Navy. Who else was in the Navy? Not anyway. All right. Well, we appreciate your service to our country. Let's see. Gene, is it K4G&E? The reason he isn't here in this wonderful presentation is he has a 60th wedding anniversary celebration. So congratulations to Gene and his wife. And on a personal note, I had my 5th grandchild yesterday, a granddaughter. So that makes 5. So we don't have a formal program for tonight. What I wanted to do was have a little workshop on coaxial cable. And I brought in some of my toys and some pieces of cable. And the rhetorical question I had was, if you put your coax outside, it's been out there for 20 years, do you need to replace it? And how do you determine whether you need to replace it? And how can you test it to see? Or if you get a piece of coax somewhere at a ham fest, is it good? Is it not good? And does it work the way it should? So why don't we take a little break, and then, and not everyone may be interested in that topic, but I would encourage people to gather around the table and we can share ideas about how to do that. It may not take long, but anyway, why don't we take a 5 or 10 minute break and then get together and do that.
Good.
And there's your red dot.
Okay, so we're now recording.
We're now recording. You can zoom it in and out up here.
He's probably going to go to the dump. That's your point. So approach the bench.
Well, yeah, they hear you there. It doesn't come on. It doesn't come off this.
Hey guys.
Use your gavel.
Come on up. Come on up. Not going to come up. I can't talk that loud. Not for long. Anyway, so I have some coax that goes outside, and some of it's buried inside of a PVC pipe, so I think it's okay. But I had some other coax. All of this is direct variable coax that started to go bad, and I wasn't sure whether bugs got it or whether roots got it or rodents got it. But I did notice that the squirrels ate the outer shield out of the insulation off. So I thought I could fix that by putting electrical tape on there, but so water got into the coax. It was no good. So I guess coax has a finite lifetime, but there is coax that's the better coax is made for direct burial, and it's UV resistant. And as I mentioned in my talk on transmission lines back in February, there's PVC1 and PVC2 that are cable jackets. I'm not sure which is which, but one is UV resistant. The cables that are not UV resistant, it breaks down, the chemicals get in there that change the dielectric property of the cable. So the first thing you want to do if you're looking at your cables, do a physical inspection. So if you see the squirrels have eaten off some of the insulation, or the people who aerated your lawn aerated your cable, then that's pretty obvious. The other thing that I did was when I install a new antenna, this is a
a rig expert, and you can do a SWR plot for every frequency. And you can use computer software to mark that, store that. So I would assume that if your antenna isn't working right, you're going to notice some change in parameters. You're not hearing signals as well, or it won't tune up or whatever. But at least if you keep a record of what it was, you can go back and see if any of that has changed. If you have a piece of cable that you got at Hamfest and you want to test it, then if you know a couple things about the cable, if you know its length, or if you know its velocity factor, and particularly if you know what its capacitance per foot is, then you can see if it's a decent piece of cable. So I have some cable here that's known to be good. So you can test using your voltmeter for, first of all, there should be no continuity between the shield and the center connector. The shield should be continuous and the center connector should be continuous. And so if I take my 50 ohm load and hook it up here, the 50 ohm dummy load. And this may be all the tests you need to do. Take that.
Straight 50 ohm resistor, right?
Yes, it's a dummy load. 50 ohm resistance, and then I get my ohm meter here. And again, you have to come up close, put on the 200 ohm scale, and let's see what we get. Now, by golly, it gives a 50.2 ohms. So I suspect if you had a length of cable that you put a resistor on the end, it gives you the right reading. That there's not a short in the cable, there's not an open in the cable, and its electrical properties haven't been changed. Now the other thing you can do is cable has a published capacitance per length. So if you take an LC meter like this and you hook it up to this.
Can I add something?
No.
The club has meters like this you can borrow, and we have an LC meter you can borrow, so it's part of the loaner.
So if I hook up this LC meter, and I'll see what the reading I get. This doesn't hook on here very well. Damn it. These little hooks won't hook on here. Good thing I'm not a surgeon.
You ever did surgery, huh?
Low battery fault. Oh, that's great. Anyway, before I did this at home, it gave me the value of 1.25 nanofarads. So if the cable's usually specified in picofarads per foot. So for this particular RGX cable, it's 25 picofarads per foot. And I know it's 50-foot cable. So if I go to my calculator and divide 1,250 picofarads by 25, that gives me 50 feet exactly, based on the published capacitance per foot of that. So I would suspect if you have a cable and it gives you that kind of reading, then it's probably okay.
I would imagine if you were making up your own dummy load,
yeah,
you want to make sure that it's not a wire wound resistor because you want to add inductance.
I don't think this one is. This one isn't.
No, I'm sure that one's not. But I'm just saying if you're putting your own 50 ohm resistor on it, you just want to make sure it's not that type.
So anyway, if you have a piece of cable and you can, the antenna book has a list of the different cables and what their capacitance per foot is, and if it jibes with what you know about the cable, its length, I can't conceive of a problem with that cable and still be able to get the right capacitance. So that's another way to do it. Now you could go out to your antenna and undo the coax and make it an open line, and if you have an open line or short, they're both infinite SWR. The other thing, so if you are doing an SWR scan on your cable and you see something less than infinite, that suggests there's a problem somewhere in the cable. You could also, if you have access to the far end of your cable, you can take a power meter take a measurement at your radio, take another measurement at your antenna end, and calculate the loss. You can use a VNA like this that has 2 ports and do I guess it's called help me out here, Mike, it's called S12 or ST1 to measure from here to here, and it'll give you the loss of your cable. And you can see if that corresponds with published values. So, let's see, who was it, Dennis? Brought in some cable. It looks like the cavemen were using it. So why don't we go through the procedure? Does anyone else have anything else to add about their tricks and things that they do that, anything of the, oh yeah, here's one other thing.
Sorry, I'm still not sure about that.
That's what she said.
I think I know that one.
Shut up. Be quiet. Anyway, you can, supposedly with this thing, you can measure the length to a fault, and it has to do with, you have to find a resonant frequency, and you use the resistance and impedance curves on this thing, but I can't tell which is, there's several, which is the resonant frequency, because depending on